Welcome back to the Stormcrow Show. I'm Brady.
And I'm Josh.
And today we are going to do a few things on the show. The first thing we are going to do is we are going to give you a Volume 5 recap of episodes 9 and 10 for RWBY. But that is not going to be the main focus of the episode. The main focus is going to be on a couple theories Josh and I have that relate to the show, not necessarily relevant for Season 5 so far, but they could prove to be relevant.
Yep. So,
with that out of the way, Josh, why don't you give us the recap of episodes 9 and 10?
All right. Let's see. So, basically, you can also actually describe episodes 9 and 10 as being like part 1, part 2, because they're so close together. There's not really a gap between what's going on, and they're all tied together. But I'll explain in a moment how that works. So, in episode 9, the episode, I believe, opens up with basically that Raven is facing the thing she has probably always wanted to avoid, which is the fact that Salem has found her tribe. Of course, what Salem's group, which is made up in this case of Dr. Watts, Cinder, Mercury, and Emerald, they want to, of course, get Vernal. In this case, they don't know her name at the time, but the Spring Maiden, to help them sneak into Haven Academy, take the relic, and get out. And then a few days later, the White Fang wants to come in and destroy the Academy. But the hope is to take out the relic beforehand. But they need the Spring Maiden to do that. And so there's this bantering and negotiating going on. Raven's not really in a position to negotiate, and yet she manages to negotiate because she's apparently a psychopath, besides being a pretty terrible mother, that to kill off her brother, Crow Bronwyn. I mean, why not, right?
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
You're a psychopath?
Context.
No, it's not. Don't do this at home, kids.
Yeah, no, that never entered. I mean, well, it never entered my mind.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, ultimately she's able to negotiate that, and Cinder, of course, is kind of open to this because she's still really angry at RWBY because RWBY apparently humiliated. I think she's more humiliated, she's hurt, but she's really humiliated about the whole thing. And so she really wants to, get her pound of flesh out of RWBY, if you will. Long story short, they negotiate that, and the plan is to get Lionheart to bait or lure Crow and ultimately the students into a trap. They kill Crow, presumably also the students, and take the relic, and then the White Fang attacks around the same time, and in the confusion, the White Fang is blamed for Crow's death, and they get out scot-free. Ultimately, of course, Raven knows that Salem is not going to keep her into the bargain. Once the deal is no longer fruitful for Salem, she will just break the bargain and backstab Raven. So Raven actually is planning to steal the relic for herself using Vernal. So there's a lot of double sword treachery being involved here. And then we'll go back to the Belladonna household in Menagerie. The fighting is going on. Basically, Ghira's beating up, invading White Fang members. Corsic and Finnick are trying to kill him and failing at it. Sun comes in. Basically, there's just all this fighting going on in the Belladonna household. Blake goes to find her mom and try to see if she can help her, and runs into Ilya, and there's this big standoff, and the episode ends. So everything is feeling very intense. Now, going on to episode 10, like I said, this leaves off with what's going on. We go back to Haven Academy, and basically Crow and Ozpin/Oscar are discussing the fact that all these huntsmen they were hoping to have back them up are not available, and so Crow's extremely nervous about this. Basically, they discuss a few other things. RWBY asks the question that's on everyone's minds, where's the relic from Beacon Academy? Because we know Cinder is the Fall Maiden, so she should have access to it. Ozpin apparently has a lot of good foresight, because basically he hit it extra well. And no, it is not his staff, which destroyed one of my theories from about a year ago.
I was totally sold on that theory, so it wasn't just you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had it because they went out of their way, it seems like, to just say, no, it is not the staff. Anyway, they have that discussion. Raven does have a quick conversation with Lionheart, which we might do an episode going into more depth, but basically they discuss what's the plan is at this point to lure Crow in. And then we go back to the Belladonna household. And long story short, Ilya and Blake go around and just fight each other. Ilya is literally trying to hurt Blake. Blake is doing everything she can to not hurt Ilya and try to basically prick her conscience as much as possible to get her to join the right side. Ultimately, without going into too much detail, Ilya breaks down because her crisis of conscience causes her to finally wake up to the truth. And Finnick, Corsican Finnick, do injure Gira Belladonna, but apparently not too badly because he's just fine at the end of the episode. But Finnick does get killed, trying to actually assassinate Gira. So another important rule: do not assassinate people; it gets you killed.
Yes, definitely.
Good learning experiences for all the kids out there, right?
Yeah, no, like, you should definitely take your life lessons from this show.
Oh, boy. All right, so ultimately, they're able to also rally a lot of the people in Menagerie, a lot of, the Faunus, to wake up and stop being, trying to hide and go and save Haven Academy. So so things are looking up, actually, to go and protect everything good. And awesomely, one theory that I'm glad that we were wrong about so far, at least, that the Belladonna family household, we didn't have Gira and Callie die. In fact, Callie apparently kicks butt because she goes around and beats up the bat guy and drags him around like a trash bag. She just drags him on, puts him down, just like she's not even tired. She's just like,
just take out the trash, Blake.
The bat guy's lying there like he got just pummeled to death or something. Pummeled, not dead. He's not dead, but he's been pummeled. And on that point, let's go to our theories so we don't lose too much time here.
Yeah, so the first theory that I had was the theory that Jacques Cheney and Arthur Watts are brothers.
Okay.
Now, there's a few different things that you can point to about this. Number one is the fact that we found out in episode 7 of Volume 4 that Jacques is not a Cheney. He married into the Cheney family.
Okay.
Second, both are from Atlas. The third one is they have a very similar physique, but that's pretty minor. I mean, a lot of the characters in this show have similar physiques, and they're not related.
Right. As
far as we know. But they also have a very similar way of dealing with people. They're both very manipulative and just downright cunning. I mean, they really just, they're just cunning, conniving people, and neither one seems to have qualms about backstabbing anybody. True. So, we saw Jacques disinherit 2 of his daughters.
True.
So, it also kind of makes sense because Watts was known as a machinery maker, which wouldn't be too surprising in Atlas, which is highly military based,
industrialized and all that.
Industrialized, yeah. But Jacques married into a dust empire, so it would kind of make sense from an early outset that the 2 brothers might have been thinking, oh, this way we can actually control the military. We have a foot in the Dust Empire, and we also have a foot in making machinery.
Right.
But then, we don't really know what happened. Maybe Watts got a little too ambitious, or he made some wrong calls, whatever. And now, the fact that Jacques is not a Cheney, but takes the Cheney name, it's actually helping distance himself potentially from a disgraced scientist who happens to be his brother.
Yeah, and there's nothing that suggests he wouldn't do that, again, as you mentioned, with disinheriting his 2 daughters already.
Yep. So that's what I had. I mean, it's going out on a limb. I mean, there's really nothing to prove. I mean, obviously 2 people can be from the same place and not be related.
Yeah.
And have similar attitudes. I mean,
and they're a kingdom, so I mean, they may not even know each other for all we know.
Exactly. And also, it seems like a lot of people from Atlas act the way Jacques does.
True.
And Watts.
That's a good point.
So, but Josh, why don't you tell us about the second theory?
So this is even a little more out there, but I think it's worth noting. So we know that there's a lot of characters whose semblances we don't really know. We can maybe infer a little bit, or Jaune, because we still don't know what it is, apparently. But that's not Jaune we're talking about. We're talking about Neptune, specifically, because Neptune I'm going to theorize that his semblance is electromagnetism. Or some type in that area. And there's a couple pieces of information, 3 pieces of information that suggest this. One, we know Neptune is afraid of water. Like, really afraid of water. Not just, like, it's a joke in the Chibi rubies, but the ruby chibis. But the fact is he's so afraid of water that it almost messes up the whole fight in Season 3, Episode 2, between Team Sun and Team Indigo. But during that fight, when Neptune finally decides to intervene near the water, he sticks his spear in and builds an electrical charge and shocks the 3 remaining Indigo opponents so that they win the match. Okay, that could be his halberd weapon. That's true. I will not deny that possibility. But here's the thing. You have a weapon that electrically charges. Like, if you're afraid of water, probably the last thing you want is a weapon that would not work with water very well, although it looks like it did, I suppose. But, you know, I mean, electricity and water don't usually mix, like, in the right way. The other thing is that there's one part in Season 2, Episode 4, I think it is, Painting the Town. You see Neptune attack that mech that Roman Torchwick is is driving, not playing with. He's driving it. And Neptune shoots it, but then he jumps up, straight up off the motorcycle after turning his gun into the halberd. It has charged up, but like I said, he jumps straight up, and then all of a sudden he moves straight at the mech, like the way a magnet would. Like if you threw it in the air and then it was attracted, it just went straight at it. Like he didn't jump at the robot, he jumped straight up, and then he just moved straight towards it for no reason. Now, granted, physics is a bit of a stretch in this entire series, but usually that's explained by the semblances. And that's what I'm going to argue, is that he has some sort of electromagnetic power. Now, if he has trouble controlling it, or it's something that's always there, kind of like how Crow's bad luck is always there, you would be afraid of water. Because you could wind up electrocuting yourself just out of the blue.
Definitely.
Granted, this is a little more out there, but I think it's worth noting.
Sure.
With that... any other theories, Brady? Any other things?
No, I think that's pretty much all we had for today. Though we do have a number of theories in the works.
Yep.
So hopefully we can assemble more information and get those ready so that hopefully in a future episode, hopefully relatively soon, we can bring those to you.
Yep.
So.
All that in either case, this is coming out, of course, after Christmas comes out. And that, hope you had a wonderful Christmas. And my name is Josh.
Christmas comes out. I'm Brady, but I just had to call you out. That was actually great.
This is at
Christmas is coming out, folks, to a town near you.
Yeah, it's like, popcorn's free that day. Yeah. No, let me rephrase that. This episode comes out after Christmas. Hope you had a wonderful Christmas. My name is Josh.
I'm Brady,
and this has been the Storm Crow Show. Thanks for watching.